in Vicky Ward's lengthy piece on Epstein back in 2003 for Vanity Fair, and she came on this program over the summer, and we talked all about this. It was a great exchange. She was very interesting. And she wrote all about Jeffrey Epstein back then in 2003. She wrote the following, because now she's looking at Alex Acosta later on whether Alex Acosta could be Trump's labor secretary, given the fact that he'd been the U.S. attorney who had given Epstein the sweetheart deal in 2008. And it was like, how is Trump going to make this guy in 2016 his labor secretary when by this point, the guy's pleaded guilty to a couple of, in connection with Alex Acosta's plea deal, bad counts, not as bad as they could have been, but not great. And that it was already clear that there was like a whiff of impropriety, at least around Epstein in 2016, and that Acosta had helped kind of whitewash the thing away from him. This is before the big piece by the Miami Herald in 2018. And so Vicky writes the following. Acosta had been asked, is the Epstein case going to cause a problem for your confirmation hearings? Acosta had explained, breezily apparently, that back in the day, he had had just one meeting on the Epstein case. He had cut the non-prosecution deal with one of Epstein's attorneys because he had, quote, been told to back off, that Epstein was above his pay grade. Quote, I was told Epstein, quote, belonged to intelligence, end quote, and to leave it alone. Final end quote. He told his interviewers in the Trump transition, who evidently thought that was a sufficient answer and went ahead and hired Acosta. And then before he was eventually forced to resign after the Miami Herald piece hit, and he was one of its stars and not in a good way, before he eventually was forced to resign on July 12th, he held a press conference on July 10th, 2019. Okay, this is right after Julie K. Brown in Miami Herald, regarding outrage over his nomination. And he changed his tune from Vicky Ward's reporting. And by the way, Vicky Ward stands by every word she wrote, that Acosta was told Epstein belonged to intelligence and to leave it alone. But here was Acosta on July 10th, 2019.
Mr. Secretary, were you ever made aware at any point your handling of this case if Mr. Epstein was an intelligence asset of some sort?
So there has been reporting to that effect, and let me say there's been reporting to a lot of effects in this case, not just now but over the years, and again, I would hesitate to take this reporting as fact. This was a case that was brought by our office. It was brought based on the facts. And I look at that reporting and others. I can't address it directly because of our guidelines. But I can tell you that a lot of reporting is just going down rabbit holes.
Okay, and then the Office of Professional Responsibility at the Department of Justice started investigating what did happen with the Epstein thing? Like, what happened there? And in November 2020, they released a 350-page report, and they claimed that they interviewed Acosta, and in their interview, he was more direct and said that no, Jeffrey Epstein wasn't intel. That's what they claimed at OPR. So we have Vicky Ward saying he did say he was told to back off because he's intel. Then we have him there equivocating on camera, sounding kind of mealy-mouthed about it, but intimating, don't believe that. He's suggesting clearly in that soundbite he's not intel. Then you have the Department of Justice interviewing him behind closed doors saying he said to us, no, Epstein wasn't intel. And that's where it stands today. I don't believe a word out of Alexander Acosta's mouth at this point, but I know you've taken a close look at all of this. What say you?
Well, I was calling for the transcripts of the OPR, the Justice Department Office of Professional Responsibility, transcripts to be released, and they actually have been in the intervening time. And Acosta does appear to make a blanket denial under oath that he had any knowledge that Epstein was, quote, an intelligence asset. So that's probably as far as the thread could be pulled on that, given the limited line of questioning that was asked about it. But the fact is you don't need to, there's a lot of ways to interpret that question that allow you wiggle room. And I'm not comfortable with the risk. I know that there's I think given now that Acosta has made the denial, there's the question of forcing a kind of under oath response has now been probably gone as far as it could. But the fact is, I'm not. There's lots of ways that you can intimate that someone, quote, belongs to intelligence to a prosecutor without, showing someone the 201 human intelligence file or making it so explicit. One of the things that the JFK file.
Well, Mike, I mean, you're right, but there's also a way that somebody at CIA or a related organization could get to you and say, you will answer that question the following way. And I don't really give a shit what is true. This is how you're answering it. It happens all the time.
Well, this is something that's just so important, I think, for the American people to not just understand, but really begin to add to their knowledge set of how our country works and the kind of reforms that are needed. There is a relationship between the CIA and the Justice Department that I think most American people have no vision into the extent to which DOJ and CIA are interconnected. I mean, we'll just remind the audience that Bill Barr himself, who was the Attorney General, not just during the BCCI affair in the 1990s under George Bush, but also the Attorney General in charge of the Justice Department when Epstein died in prison. He started his career in the CIA. For the first, I believe, 7 years of his career, he worked directly at CIA and then went to law school at night to only become a lawyer while he was working for the CIA during the day. And his first jobs there involved basically blocking any transparency into the very Iran-Contra scandal that Jeffrey Epstein himself was intimately involved with, both through his client network, his banking network, and what appears to have been his operational role.
And he's the one who would ultimately tell us that Jeffrey Epstein killed himself and that there was no way anybody could have gotten to him. This is very interesting. Like, I actually didn't understand that full history early on when I interviewed Bill Barr, and it was kind of a passing reference when his book came out. We kind of covered it. I'm like, okay, I believe him. Well, it's a lot more complex.
Back then, the Democrats were attacking Bill Barr as the mop-up man for the CIA scandals in the 1980s and 1990s. They were attacking him in the press in the 1980s for blocking Democrat congressional investigations into the CIA during the Iran-Contra affair, and then they were attacking him as Attorney General for basically blocking, pardoning the BCCI officials and blocking lines of inquiry into the CIA. But what's important is the last year, these files, the JFK files dropped, showing that the CIA was interfering extremely actively on criminal cases to get the Justice Department to back off of people who had committed open and flagrant crimes to protect their operational network. There's this case of the and for example.
Wait. But I only have a minute left, and I don't want to. Can I just ask you? Can you take that time? You have 90 seconds left. Give us the bottom line on this. What have we just learned with you over the past hour? What's a takeaway for the viewers listening at home?
The takeaway is we need the CIA and State Department side of this equation. We also need the missing years in the Justice Department side of this. But these two things are connected. You heard Alan Dershowitz say on Piers Morgan the other day that if Epstein was connected to the CIA or Mossad, he could have gotten him off, and everyone went, wow, that means it's a get out of jail free card. Well, Epstein, guess what? He did get off basically in 2006 with the 2008 plea deal, serving basically less than a year in prison, being able to work from there, and then house arrest, while you had 50-some felony charges that were basically swept up, and then a blanket non-prosecution for all co-conspirators known and unknown. So as far as I'm concerned, that is what happened, and we need that transparency now.
International disputes, inflation, rising national debt, digital currency. There's a never-ending list of reasons gold has risen over 700% in the last 20 years. And a never-ending list of reasons smart Americans diversify a portion of their savings into precious metals with Birch Gold Group. Gold can thrive during uncertainty, which is why it's a crucial part of a balanced financial strategy. It gives you peace of mind, given all the events that could impact the U.S. economy. See if holding gold in a tax-sheltered retirement account is right for you. Birch Gold can help you convert an existing IRA or 401k into an IRA in gold. Just text MK to the number 989898 to receive your free info kit on gold. There's no obligation, just useful information. With an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau and tens of thousands of happy customers, consider letting Birch Gold help you diversify with gold so you too can have peace of mind, regardless of the uncertainty. Text MK to the number 989898. Thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.